Good morning, councillors, staff. Today I would like to acknowledge the meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we are currently gathered and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So I'd like you to welcome you to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 21st of September 2022. I declare this meeting open at 10 a.m. I'd like to advise meeting attendees that this meeting is webcast and audio recorded. And before we do that, I'd like to, can the gallery please be upstanding if you're able to, and join me in a moment of reflection or contemplation. The past 2 weeks have certainly been a time of reflection for many of us. For 70 years, the Queen Elizabeth reigned as Australia's head of state. During this time, the Queen visited Australia 16 times, visiting every state and territory. For most of us, she is the only head of state we've known. While the role of the monarchy has evolved, Her Majesty's great strength and enduring wisdom ensured she was both respected and loved around the world. More than anything, she duly lived a life of service. The passing of the Queen has given us pause to reflect on our systems of government more broadly. The foundation of Australia's system of government is based on the British Westminster system. However, we have a mixed system of government. It is a representation of democracy and a constitutional monarchy, and it also a federation of state. As a democratic country, we all have the power to participate in decision-making. We have a robust parliamentary democracy and make our own national decisions. It is important to acknowledge the Queen has never stood in the way of Australia's progression. In 1999, she took a great interest in the referendum for Australia to become a republic, but supported the right of Australians to become a fully independent nation, saying she has always made it clear that the future of the monarchy in Australia is an issue for the Australian people and them alone to decide. A democracy relies on the participation of its citizens, and as a vibrant democracy, we all have a role to play in the way in which our future is shaped. The world is changing at a rapid rate, and some there value it in the consistency of what we know. After all, if it's not broken, why fix it? Thank you. Okay. Attendees and leave of absence. We don't have any leave of absences. So we'll go straight into condolences, and I'll start condolences. On behalf of my fellow councillors, council staff and residents of the City of Logan, I wish to extend our sincere condolences to the royal family following the sad passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. For 70 years, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth reigned as Australia's head of state. During this time, as you know, the Queen visited Australia 16 times, taking a keen interest in this country and its people. She was devoted to her duty and was recognised as a well-loved and respected leader. Queen Elizabeth was a woman of grace, diplomacy and compassion. We will forever be grateful for her public service. Rest in peace, Your Majesty. Councillors, I now open it up for further condolences. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I have two condolences for you today. The first was a long-time resident of Woodridge, Philip Morris Gould. Phil and his wife Carol raised their family in Henty Street in Woodridge for the better part of 50 years. He was an old trucker who did everything right in life. He loved his wife, he raised his family, and he gave back to the community that he lived in. Phil was a funny fellow who had a dry sense of humour that would set people into fits of laughter. He loved Slim Dusty and old Aussie favourites. He was an active member of the Australian Labor Party because he believed workers needed someone to stand up for them. He helped out on various federal, state and local campaigns and was respected by all of those representatives. His funeral last Friday was attended by various community volunteers, elected representatives and loved ones, and the picture montage showed just how much he loved his family. Phil leaves behind his wonderful wife Carol, children, grandchildren and his only great-grandchild who was just 6 weeks old when he passed. If you could please pass along the condolences of Council, that would be appreciated. The second condolence is a hard one, Mr Mayor. On Monday evening, 2 Queens headed up to heaven. One was in a grand send-off watched by billions of people, and the other a much quieter affair at Canossa Private Hospital attended by a close family. Long-term resident of Division 2 since 1975, my mother Beverly Lane, or as we called her, the notorious BEV, finally got her angel wings. From a hard start in life, growing up in the Millawa Mallee, Mum climbed her way out of her tough beginnings and became a loving wife, an awesome mother and a great community volunteer. She did fundraising for various groups locally, was a nurse for 20 years, became a councillor at 50 and volunteered at Boran Park Community Centre when it first opened. She was active in the Australian Labor Party for more than 40 years. She was a terrible cook. She could wield sarcasm like a blade, and that sweet old lady face covered a sharp mind and a rapier wit. Mum was a self-educated, well-read woman who had many opinions and didn't hesitate to share them. She smoked all of her life, and that's what ultimately did her in. I remember as a child her mashing potatoes with a cigarette in one hand and the masher in the other. To this day, most of us kids don't use pepper in our food because it's a trigger of her terrible cooking. When we had nits as kids and she would get us into the bathroom to have Kero hair treatments, which was fine except for one thing. She always had a lit cigarette in her hand when she was doing it. We would dump our friends if they gave us nits. If they did it more than once, we invited them over so they would have to get their hair done by Mum as well. No one lost their hair, but there were a few close calls and singed ends. Mum raised fearless kids. She made us confident. She gave us the tools to be good humans, to stand up for vulnerable people. She supported us and loved us with every fibre of her being and showed us what it was to be good community members. Mr Mayor, I'm grateful that the Queensland Government had the fortitude to raise the issue of euthanasia and put forward steps to make it happen. Watching my mum die a slow death was a very difficult thing, and I don't wish it on anyone. Rest in peace, notorious BEV, you were loved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. That will be sent out. Further, Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I would like to pass my condolences on to the family of the young man who tragically passed away in a motorbike accident on the 11th of September in Greenbank. It's a reminder to all of us to take care on the roads as motorists, pedestrians and bike riders, and to be aware of our surroundings and to ride and drive to the conditions. I think it's a poignant time for a reminder after the past couple of weeks that life is precious, so please don't take it for granted and treasure every minute. But to the family, I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope in time you are able to grieve and heal the loss of your son and brother. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy? No? Okay. Okay, thank you, councillors. If we could now observe a moment of reflection in honour of those who have gone before us and those in support of those who have been left behind. Thank you, councillors. You may be seated. Okay, I'll now open up the floor to congratulations. Do any councillors have a congratulations request? I'll start at Councillor Bradley first and work our way around. Councillor Lane.
Happier things, Mr Mayor. So I would like to express my congratulations to John Dalton and Ray White, Logan Central. Meals on Wheels is one of our most loved establishments, and Ray White has come to the party and is sponsoring a barbecue this Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday at Jacaranda Shops. It's actually just to raise money for their end-of-year Christmas party to give all the volunteers a really good time at Christmas. So I'd like to say congratulations to Ray White Real Estate in Logan City for the good effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillors Councillor Kerensky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to take a moment to say a huge congratulations to the Logan Village Men's Shed and to acknowledge all the volunteers who rolled up their sleeves to help with site works and laying concrete for the men's shed to get underway. But in particular, I would like to say a huge thank you to my neighbouring councillor, Scott Bannon. Scott was fundamental in helping this project come to life, and it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge that he donned the fluoros and was down there physically laying concrete on the day. It was a tremendous sight to see, and I'm greatly appreciative. But what I would like to say is I have to acknowledge Dom from Direct Concrete Pumping, Bucky from Bucky's Concreting, and Mick from Mick McClellan Excavation. And Mick came all the way down from Caboolture to lend a hand. All of these men and their businesses and their employees donned their time and gave their time and expertise over the week to assist the men's shed to complete the slab work for their new sheds. It was fantastic that these works occurred during Men's Shed Week, with the prep work being completed on Are You OK Day and the slab being poured on World Suicide Prevention Day. This fits well with the ideals of the Men's Shed, as the Men's Shed movement has now become one of the most powerful tools in addressing health and well-being and helping men to once again become valued and productive members of our community. And I'm sure Councillor Bannon is as excited as I am to see this project come to light, and we can hardly wait to go down there and have a celebratory drink when they finally get the shed erected. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Raven.
I've actually got a couple of congratulations today, but in the interest of time, I'll just speak to two. I've sent the rest to you, so you'll be writing a few letters for me. Thank you very much. First, it'd be remiss of me not to acknowledge the fantastic effort of the Economic Development team for the Flame Festival on the weekend. It was a huge event, the biggest that Council has ever run, with overwhelmingly positive support and huge support from councillors as well. I want to give a massive shout out to Councillor Bannon. His persistence and determination to make sure that this event was well promoted and that the councillors who were running the lead-up events had the support that they needed. We had many a conversation late at night finding contestants for the cook-offs to make sure that the final competition for the smoke was as good as it could be, and it was amazing competition on the day. 1 point split the difference, Mr Mayor. There was a little bit of controversy. One of the ribs was tilted in the box by the volunteer who was carrying it, and it was 1 point the difference. When I spoke to the judges afterwards, they said presentation was why they marked the bloke who came second down. So that's how close the competition was, whether or not it got tipped in the box. It was a fantastic day. People voted with their feet by showing up, and they had a great time. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Dave Radich, Ella Duplessis and Beck Roberts for all their incredible work. I know they put everything into it and then some, and they deserve to be acknowledged for that. Now on to the community, Mr Mayor, and as you know, the community is woken back up again. We're seeing lots of events, and so it's hard to just pick out one or two to speak to, which is why you're writing lots of letters, and I'm just going to name one today because it's the first big festival this community has run. So I'd ask that congratulations be forwarded to the Trinity Community Association of Queensland for their DQ Festival. Now DQ is very much for the Trinity community like Thanksgiving is for Americans. You bring people together from different families, you bring your friends together, and you celebrate your freedom, and you share stories and share your recipes. Now I actually couldn't be there for the whole event. I showed up for the best bit, for the performances and the food. So I pulled a trick that I know that you love to pull, Mr Mayor, showing up for the best part of the show. But it was great to see over 500 people from all different communities coming together to share food, to share this very unique and traditional sticky rice dish, which quote-unquote saved the war for the Trinity, because they believe that if they didn't have this rice dish, they wouldn't have been able to feed their troops in the freedom fight that they're celebrating. So thank you very much to that community, and a huge shout out to Joe Lynn, who's the first time they've had a youth leader for that community organisation. He's only 23 years old, and he put this whole event together with people who are younger than him. So it's great to see young people keeping their culture and traditions alive in our city.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to echo Councillor Raven's sentiment and congratulate the ED team and Scotty Bannon on the Flame Festival. I went there and I actually got slotted in as a late entrance to the hot dog eating competition. I can honestly say I've never had so many sausages in my mouth at one time, and it's not as easy as what it looks. It's actually quite difficult. Now, Mr Mayor, what I'd like to congratulate If you ever wanted to see myself, Councillor Raven and Senator Paul Scarts working, well, unfortunately, you've missed your opportunity because it happened on the weekend. Mr Mayor, I'd like to congratulate President Mike Fideli and the Congolese community of Queensland for successfully hosting their three-day National Congolese Youth Festival football tournament in Bethania. It had teams from Western Australia, Melbourne, New South Wales and the Northern Territory all competing right here in Logan. Sports is an important way to teach our youth about respect, teamwork, work ethic and tolerance. So I support any event that encourages our young people, especially young people at risk, to play sport. I would also like to thank the Bethania Rams for leasing the field for this event and my fellow councillors who helped fund the lease, Councillor Lane, Councillor Russell and Councillor Raven. And I especially would like to thank the local residents for their patience and tolerance during the tournament and the award ceremony. Having these types of multicultural events shows that we truly are a progressive city that accepts all races and cultures. And it is something that we as Logan residents should all be proud of. Thank you. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So I'd like to offer my congratulations to 11-year-old St Bernardine student Caleb Fajardo. Caleb won the title of Brisbane's best handballer at Suncorp Stadium in front of a crowd of 42,612 people during the half-time entertainment at the Brisbane Broncos versus Melbourne Storm match on the 19th of August. The final competition was the culmination of an 11-week quest to find Brisbane's best handball player. Over 50 schools from across southeast Queensland participated with Caleb coming out the champion. Thank you. Well done, Caleb.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. Councillor Bannon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be quick because everyone's touched on it. I want to thank everyone for the Flame event, for the councillors that supported often crazy ideas, especially you, Mr Mayor, for coming and helping me open the event, and you've always supported everything out in that side of town, so it goes a long way. But a special thank you to EDNS, to Ella, Beck and Faith, Mark and Yuki with the amazing photos, to legendary Johnny, aka Johnny Jimboomba, Andrew, Chris, Chloe and Ali, and just if I missed anyone I apologise, but thank you for supporting what we do. Ta.
Thank you. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Recently, Queensland Scouts recognised 8 adult members of Scouts from across the city of Logan, and today I would like to congratulate 2 of them from the Greenbank Scout Group. The Adult Recognition Awards were announced on the 1st of August each year on World Scout Day, and they recognise and acknowledge the tireless work of our volunteer adult leaders who undertake and deliver the Scout program to the youth members of our community. The purpose of Scouting is to contribute to the development of young people in achieving their full physical, intellectual, emotional, social and spiritual potentials as individuals, as responsible citizens and as members of our local, national and international communities. These awards call out efforts over and above the volunteers' primary role in Scouting, whilst also acknowledging their dedicated and committed service over many years. So today I would like to congratulate Tony Langler, who has been awarded the Silver Wattle Award, and Damien Russell, who was awarded the Meritorious Service Award. So congratulations to you both from Greenbank Scout Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have 2 today. Today, Mr Mayor and councillors, after a 2-year hiatus, the Beenleigh Show was finally able to host its 143rd Beenleigh Show on Saturday the 10th of September. The community welcomed it back with open arms. The night brought back lots of memories of my own children visiting an event just like this. The lines for the rides were full with excited families, and they followed with a show bag and many stalls like that. To top off the night, there was an excellent display of fireworks. So, Mr Mayor, could I please ask that congratulations be passed on to the Beenleigh Show Society, and especially Annette Munt in particular for her hard work. I look forward to next year's event, which will be bigger than better. And secondly, Mr Mayor, this month Trinity College Beenleigh celebrated 40 years in Beenleigh. It was established in 1982 by the Mars brothers. Trinity College has grown in this time from a small Catholic school just on the outskirts of the Beenleigh CBD and is now a thriving school community. The college has an enrolment of around 900 students and retains the Mars influence, which underpins the work that they do to guide and support their students. I wish to congratulate the students, the families, teachers, staff, and in particular the Principal Chris Raj on reaching this significant milestone. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. I'd also like to acknowledge the good work that our events team put in on Saturday for our Flame Festival, and of course Councillor Bannon, who was the leader of the show when it came to putting this together. I have to say that I've never seen so many people. It was all about putting Jim Boomba on the map, and it certainly put Jim Boomba on the map. There was, 15,000 people there. I could not believe the crowds. And can I just say that I had great pleasure in being one of the judges for the ribs, and I really don't know who won because it was the blind judging. We didn't actually know who. We just had 1, 2 and 3. But what I can tell you is they were the best ribs I've ever had in my life. And I learned very quickly, because when we did the first rib, I just took one bite, tasted it. I thought it was like wine, you know, we just have a little sip and then you spit it out in your glass. And I just took a mouthful and I put it back, and as I was taking it away, I realised the 2 other judges had stripped their bones bare. So the next 2 ribs, I certainly got into it. So it was fantastic. No, it was a really good day, and congratulations to everyone. So I now refer to the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting. I move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 24th of August 2022 be confirmed. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Hall has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Now we have the confirmation of the minutes of the previous special council meeting. So I now refer to the minutes of the previous special council meeting. I move that the minutes of the special council meeting held on the 6th of September 2022 be confirmed. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Raven has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. Now I open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. We have no business arising from the minutes to consider, so we'll go straight into the committee reports. So we have the City Planning, Economic Development Environment Committee. I'll now ask the Chair, Mr Councillor John Raven, Chairperson, City Planning, Economic Development Environment Committee. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare at this stage? There being none. Mr Mayor, it was a fast and furious committee meeting, which is a nice change for mine, probably because we've been doing so much work on the planning scheme. I have no further comments to add to the one report that came to the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Do any councillors wish to speak? No, back to you, Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that 1, the minutes of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 13th of September 2022 be confirmed, and 2, that the recommendations of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 13th of September 2022 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Bannon seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. I'll ask the question, does anyone wish to lodge their name against any of the recommendations in the report? No? Thank you. We'll keep moving. I now refer to the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 13th of September 2022. I ask Councillor Lane, Chairperson of the City Infrastructure Committee, you may proceed.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare? There being none, I'll hand back to you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Any other councillors wish to speak? No. I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Lane.
Battered like a handballer, Mr Mayor. I move that the minutes of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 13th of September 2022 be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 13th of September 2022 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Bannon. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now put the matter for the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion is carried. Does anyone wish to record their name against any of the recommendations in that report? Committee? No? Okay, we'll keep moving. Thank you. Go to the City Lifestyle Committee held on the 14th of September 2022. Councillor Karansky, Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussions, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest they wish to declare? There being none, I'll now speak to the recommendations. At a busy City Lifestyle Committee last week, councillors were provided with a quarterly progress update on the planning and delivery of Council's major sporting and community infrastructure projects. The report provided insight into project status, including achievements and next steps for progression. This report highlighted just how busy our council is in delivering vital sport and community infrastructure for our local community. Councillors received the annual report on active and healthy Crank School Holiday and Swim Logan programs, which are free and low-cost activities available to the community. Key outcomes for the previous financial year included positive impacts, challenges experienced, and further growth opportunities to support the delivery and enhancement of these programs. All programs are delivered with dynamic and flexible approaches, ensuring that they meet our community need and provide opportunities for best possible outcome. And no doubt kids are enjoying the Crank program these school holidays. The illegal dumping and litter enforcement strategy for 2022 to 2025 was presented to Council. The illegal dumping of waste and litter has a negative impact on our city, and the protection of our city's environment through the active prevention of such activities underpins the overall social and economic well-being of our city. The strategy will form a roadmap for delivering a suite of initiatives over the next 3 years to drive a sustainable change in public behaviour and keep our city clean. With a spirit of robust debate, Mr Mayor, councillors considered a report that proposed a review of the subordinate local law 9.2, which refers to the display of election signage. Logan City Council regulates the display of election signage under this subordinate local law to uphold the safety and amenity of the city during election periods. And then to round out a lengthy session, the Parks team provided councillors with insight into work being done in the asset and land acquisition space. It was a big round for our committee, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Any other councillors wish to speak on the report? Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to speak to item 6.2, which is the election signage local laws. I'll be abstaining today, not because I'm against the decision that was made. I just know that we've got another couple of steps to go when we see the detail of the draft local law, and I would like to see what's in that detail before I can commit one way or the other. I think the debate was great. I think councillors really tried to balance the interests of the community versus interests of people running for elections, which is challenging at all times. But I just wanted to noted that my abstention is not a discredit to the debate or to the process that the chair went through. I think she did a fantastic job, but I just want to see what's coming next. Same for the staff. They did an amazing job presenting the different options as well.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Raven. Any other councillors wish to make any comments? Councillor Hall.
Hi, Mr Mayor. I too would like to abstain.
Okay. Any other councillors? No? Hand it back to you, Councillor Raven. Sorry, Councillor Corinne.
Close but no cigar, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the minutes of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 14th of September 2022 be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 14th of September 2022 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Wilcox has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now put the matter on the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Now I know that there'll be councillors who wish to record their names against certain items, so we'll go from Council 1, Division 1 all the way around. So, Councillor Bradley.
Against 6.2, thank you.
6.2. Councillor Lane.
Abstain 6.1, please.
6.1. No. Councillor Russell.
Against 6.2.
Against 6.2. Councillor Raven.
Abstain 6.2.
Councillor Hall.
I'd like to change from abstaining to against to 6.2.
6.1 or 6.2?
Sorry, 6.1.
Okay. Councillor Fraser, nothing. Councillor Hirameyer?
Against 6.2, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hall?
Sorry, it was 6.2, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, I thought it was 6.2. Okay. Councillor Bannon? No. Okay. And I'm abstaining 6.2 myself. Okay. Thank you, Councillor. It was a close count, can I just say that? Okay, thank you, councillors. We'll now go to City Governance. I now refer to City Governance Committee meeting held on the 14th of September 2022. Councillor Murphy, Chairperson of City Governance, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before I move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare and their item number, please? There being none, I would like to note that item 8.1 of the City Governance Committee meeting was deferred for consideration in today's ordinary council meeting. This item will be addressed later today's agenda and separate from the bulk of the adoptions and recommendations. I'd like to speak to the remainder of the recommendations now, Mr Mayor and Councillor, we had another busy round of the Governance Committee and a lot of reports were in a confidential matter. However, today I would like to highlight 7.1. Thank you, Mr Raven. The attendance of the Local Government Association of Queensland Conference. The conference is one of our few opportunities that elected officials we get to network with other local governments, areas and showcase, debate and learn from our peers across the state of Queensland. The conference this year is going to be attended by both Councillor Raven and Councillor Hirameyer on our behalves. This is our chance to showcase the work and the successful outcomes of the City of Logan. We are particularly excited for Councillor Hirameyer, the youngest councillor of Queensland, to present a short video on youth engagement with local government. We hope that this video will be received and have a thought-provoking discussion that will help engage youth in the future. We look forward to hearing the outcomes from the conference from both Councillor Hirameyer and Councillor Raven. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I hand it back to you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Anyone wish to speak on any of those items? No? Councillor Murphy?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Now I'd like to move that the minutes of the City Governance Committee held on the 14th of September 2022 be confirmed, and two, that the recommendations of the City Governance Committee held on the 14th of September 2022, with the exception of item 8.1, be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fraser has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. Now put it on the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Now I'll offer the opportunity to councillors to put their name against any of the items in that report. No. Thank you, councillors. We'll now go to council reports. We have one council report to consider on today's agenda. I now refer to item 11.1, inviting Acting Chief Executive Officer Mr Silvio Trinca to join the discussions. Before we open discussion on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? No. There being none, I now refer to Mr Trinca to open discussions. Mr Trinca, you may proceed.
Good morning, councillors, and unfortunately we've had a late report, but we don't have a lot to do with not meeting our requirements under the Local Government Act and the Local Government Regulations. So under the Act, we're required to prepare an annual report, and that's part of our financial accounting standards, and we're also under the Local Government Regulations required to adopt the annual report within 1 month from the day the Auditor-General provides the audit report on our financial statements for the financial year. Now, the Auditor-General report was received on the 14th of September, and unfortunately that meant that we would not be able to meet the next round of committee meetings, and so we've had to bring you a late report. The report demonstrates an accountable and transparent record of Council's operations over the last financial year and its delivery of services to the Logan community. Demonstrates how Council is operating in an accountable, effective, efficient and sustainable manner. It provides a snapshot of our achievements and highlights our successes and challenges in delivering services to our community. As part of the continuous improvement approach to finding efficiencies, we've been focusing on 3 key areas in this annual report, and that's core background information, the requirements of the statutory information and performance highlights, and the challenges for the year and looking forward. We've been able to reduce the number of pages for the annual report from 240 to 186, so it now becomes a good read. I'm sure you've all looked at that in preparation for today's meeting. And it's designed around the corporate plan priorities. So this is the first year we've been able to align our operational plan and our achievements and the annual report against the new corporate plan. To support access and inclusion, the report is again written as plain text document in accordance with Council's previous decisions, and it's been reviewed to meet English Grade 9 reading levels and standards wherever possible. Obviously the financial records don't meet that standard, but unfortunately we have no choice. In order to make it easier for people wanting to read the report, we'll separate out the financial report, and that will provide as a standalone URL website link. If Council adopts today, we'll then update it to our website, and we're also going to look at preparing a plain text report and a summarised graphic design version for the public, and that will be made available on our website and for general distribution. So I recommend the report to Council for its consideration and adoption. Okay,
thank you, Mr. Trinker. I'll open it up for any questions, if the councillors wish to raise any questions regarding that report. No? Okay. Councillors, if you look up on the board there, we have the recommendation. Is there a mover for the motion? Councillor Bradley has moved the motion. Seconder, Councillor Stemp. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now put it on the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Now we go to the late report. A deferred report, item 8.1 of the City Governance Committee meeting, proposed acquisition of property by Logan City. I note that the late report on today's agenda is item 8.1 of the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 14th of September 2022. This report was deferred to Ordinary Council to allow for additional information to be provided to councillors by the Group Manager of Logan Water, Mike Basterfield. A confidential addendum to the agenda has been circulated to councillors. Before we open discussion on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? No conflicts? Okay. So I note that item 8.1 is confidential. I note that it is considered necessary to take the discussion of this report into a closed session. This matter relates to the Local Government Regulation 2012, Queensland Section 254J3G, negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be more likely to prejudice the interests of the local government, as it contains information that would be considered commercially in confidence and subject to a confidential commercial negotiation process and transaction. I'll ask councillors, and I do know that information has been provided. Do any councillors wish to move into a closed session for this item, and if applicable, provide an overview of your intended discussions if it is different to the prepared motion. Remind councillors that if there is no desire to discuss the confidential matter, there is no requirement to move in a closed session. If so, I now open the floor to councillors. So, councillors, does anyone wish to go into confidential? I take that as no. I'll now move to the motion on the board. Councillors wish to read that. I think there's a number 3.
3, 4.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any councillors wish more time to read that? No. Okay. Is there a mover for the report amended motion as displayed on the screen? Councillor Bannon has moved the motion. Do I have a seconder to that amended motion? Councillor Murphy has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? No. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Okay. So that has been carried. However, there are some councillors who have not voted, so I will now ask whether they've abstained or voting against. So I will go right through. Councillor Bradley?
Strongly against.
Councillor Lane?
For.
Councillor Russell?
For.
Councillor Kerensky?
Abstain.
Councillor Raven?
For.
Councillor Hall?
For.
Councillor Fraser?
For.
Councillor Heremiah?
For.
Councillor Bannon?
For.
Councillor Stemp?
Against.
Councillor Wilcox?
For.
Councillor Murphy?
For.
Okay, thank you. That's been recorded.
And you? And
Me?
yourself?
Yep. Oh, sorry. And I voted for it. Thank you. Okay. Councillors, do any councillors have a petition to present? Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do have a petition here, and the petition is titled Installation of Traffic Calming Measures along Lancelot Street in Rochdale South. I ask that it be received and reviewed for validity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Do we want to move a motion to accept that petition? So, Councillor Bradley, you'll... Oh, okay. So it's only being received? Okay, so I vote for... so you're moving it be received. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried. Okay. We have no notified motions to consider, so I'll now start with...
Point of order, Mr Mayor. Did you need someone to second that motion?
Sorry?
Did you need someone to second that motion,
I didn't
Mr
think
Mayor?
we had to. I thought it was a... What's the name motion? We do have to second that motion? Okay. So I'll have someone second that motion for the petition. Councillor Wilcox has seconded the motion. I'll put it to the floor to vote again. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Okay, councillors, I now refer to general business. Today we were starting at Division 3 with Councillor Russell. Councillor Russell? No. Councillor Kerensky? Councillor Raven? Councillor Hall? Councillor Fraser? Yeah, up you get.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So what I'd like to do is read out an email that I received just in the last few days saying how much a resident appreciated the service that they received from Logan Water when they had a concealed leak on their property. So, hello Tim, as you well know, I'm a strong supporter of the Logan City Council officers who support the people of Logan so well and rate the performance of those officers in high regard. Earlier this year, I experienced an unexpected water leak during a period of absence, and at that time, some inclement weather that makes it difficult to find water leak on our property in Forestdale. I contacted the Road and Water Services Division and was helped respectfully and understandingly by the person I spoke to in providing the options available to me. I submitted a concealed leak remission application with supporting documentation and was most grateful to receive that attached remission within a week of the application submission. Regardless of what the result was going to be, I feel I have been treated respectfully and with understanding, and I want to formally express my appreciation of this treatment. I've attached both the remission advice and my letter to the responsible division. Please pass on my sincere thanks, not so much for the result, but for the understanding received in the decision-making process. So yes, can you please pass that on to the relevant people, Mr. Acting CEO as well? Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Fraser. We could do with more of those. They're great. Councillor Heremiah, Councillor Bannon, Councillor Stemp, Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Last month wrapped up the Commonwealth Games that were held in Birmingham from the 28th of July to the 8th of August, and Australia performed brilliantly once again, returning home with a total of 178 medals. The City of Logan was again represented well with athletes who either live here, train here or have come from here and play a whole range of different sports. Quite a few of them performed really well, but I'd like to congratulate all of them. So Alyssa Lefau, hopefully I said that right, won gold in rugby sevens. Greenbank resident Kurt Thompson won gold in the 3x3 wheelchair basketball, and I think I could hear his sister cheering on from my lounge room. Tennille Crace competed in the heptathlon and got some amazing PBs. We had a brother and sister duo in the mixed doubles badminton, although they didn't play with each other, they actually had different mixed double partners. Ebony Gorinku competed in the weightlifting. Unfortunately, our 2021 Logan Sports Person of the Year, Ash Maloney, had to withdraw from the Games due to injury just before it. But let's not forget the girls who started their swimming careers in the Greenbank State School pool. Shayna Jack, who overcame a broken hand from an incident in the pool in Budapest, just weeks before the Games, rushed home for surgery and then went on to win 1 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze in the pool at the Commonwealth Games. And then we also had the teenage sensation, a new queen of the pool, Molly O'Callaghan, who brought home 7 medals, 5 gold and 2 silver from the Com Games and a further 6 medals from the World Champs just before the Com Games. And at only 18 years old is still completing her Year 12 studies. Molly is now the youngest swimmer to win the coveted 100-metre freestyle at the World Champs in over 30 years across the nations. Molly was also recently awarded the Medal of Order of Australia in this year's 2022 Australia Day Honours and for her service to sport as a gold medalist at the Tokyo Olympic Games. And just last month, she has also been awarded the Olympic Program Swimmer of the Year for 2022 after a stellar year in swimming. Congratulations to each and every one of you for competing at the Commonwealth Games, and I wish you more success in your sports. But I'd like to make a point. If this is the calibre of athletes that are coming from Logan and we're producing these, I can't wait to see the next generation of athletes who are going to be coming through for the 2032 Games to be held right here in South East Queensland in just 10 years. Thanks.
And that's why we're injecting all that money into sport. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, today the Council will launch the Have Your Say page that will shape the Bishop Street Park in Eagleby. This is the community's opportunity to create something special that will enhance the lifestyle of the local people for many years to come. Council wants to hear from as many residents as possible, so I encourage everybody who is interested in this park to jump online and share their thoughts. Later today, I will be emailing stakeholders, schools, community groups in Division 12 and inviting them to make submissions and to share to their communities. There will also be an opportunity for in-community engagement sessions with council officers. I would also be sharing the Have Your Say page on all social media today. I'd like to thank the council staff for bringing this Have Your Say page forward so quickly. If anybody would like further information, please don't hesitate to contact our office. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Bradley. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. Every month, more than 1,800 meals are made and delivered to vulnerable people around Division 2, 3, 5 and 6 by the Logan Central Meals on Wheels. But that's at risk because council can't seem to fix the leak in the roof. Volunteers are working hard cooking food in poor circumstances when we have wet weather. For more than a year, complaints have been made about the leaking roof, but it's coming to a head with a very real possibility that Meals on Wheels may have to stop cooking for volunteer safety. That's unacceptable. I ask Mr Mayor that funds be allocated to come up with a temporary rainproofing solution while the roof replacement process is being expedited. We do need to feed people.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. That concludes our meeting for the day. So I now declare this meeting closed at 10:49 a.m. Thank you.